choice. I'm actually the youngest son of a minister who was very engaged in the civil rights movement in Southern California as treasurer of the Western Christian Leadership Conference, the West Coast arm of Martin Luther King's organization, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And if you were listening this morning to the various speeches, you heard quite a bit about the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. So it's quite appropriate. So today I thought, what would I say? Especially what would I say in as much as that today, 50 years ago, I was actually supposed to be there as an 8-year-old with my older brother, with my father, who was there at the March on Washington. So I thought, well, you know, I had an opportunity to give a speech at University of Michigan for King Day, for the birthday this year. So I thought, you know, how appropriate would it be for me to simply tweak that speech and share what was very well received and see what you think. So here's it's slightly prepared, but I hope you will enjoy it. Today we honor the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, August 28, 1963. In Martin Luther King's iconic I Have a Dream speech, he noted that 100 years later, after Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is still not free. Indeed, there is much work still to be done. Indeed, in 1963, as well as in 2013, many African Americans continue to face challenges in the inequalities of access to health care, education, employment, and housing. Indeed, there is much work to do for African American males then and now in this era of Trayvon Martin, who are greatly challenged to live to see their 21st birthday without the fear of gun violence, police harassment, and incarceration. That a new Jim Crow, where there are more African American males in prisons than there are in the general population, based on the institutional racism in the criminal justice system, calls us to take action. However, the good news is that progress, symbolic and real, that we today take for granted has been made as a result of the March on Washington. The right to non-segregated education, the right to frequent public accommodation. These are things that we can't even imagine having to even worry about, but that was very much real 50 years ago. The right to frequent restaurants, to sit at a lunch counter with another person at Woolworths, et cetera, and so forth. Yet the centerpiece of progress of the March and the years that follow, the right to vote and the 1965 Voting Rights Act, is today under attack. As we commemorate this day, unceasing credit must be given to the inspired and fearless leadership of countless young people. The young John Lewis, the young James Farmer, the young Claiborne Carson, the young Ella Baker, the college students, black, white, Latino, straight and gay, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, sponsored by the Congress for Racial Equality, who risked their lives as the Freedom Riders. As it is they, young college students of 1960-61, who set in motion an evolution for a critical mass of light for social justice. It is they, college students, as Dr. Montero has commented on, assisted by interfaith clergy like Reverend Bates, like all of the Reverend Shuttlesworth, Reverend Abernathy, and of course Dr. King. Interfaith clergy who helped to crush the culture of racism and deprivation of the Jim Crow South. It is they who created the precursor of the Occupy movement of 2011. As I mentioned, I am the youngest son of the late Dr. Reverend John N. Doggett. My father's leadership added to a convergence of diverse coalitions. We've been hearing about coalition. It is all about coalitions. So my father's leadership added to a convergence of diverse coalitions of conscientious objection, creating a new critical mass for change that transformed lives and empowered the civil rights movement. It is a collective conscientious objection and nonviolent intention to stand our ground in our shared dream for a more just America, a more perfect union that propelled the dream forward in '63, that will also propel it forward into 2014. It is they in 1963 and we here who are called to give voice to the unimagined dreams become reality Here in the San Francisco Bay Area, unlike the Deep South of 1963, there is a diversity of riches embodied in our diversity as Black, white, LGBTQ, Latino, Asian Pacific, Native American, veterans, youth, Christian, Jews, Muslims, and non-believers. We are all neighbors. We all live in a common house known as Mother Earth. In closing, we here must be the messengers who ensure that the dream is neither forgotten nor lost. It is we here who are called to illuminate paths of transformation through rainbow coalitions to stand our ground in our demand for equal rights, for voting rights, for immigration reform, for a fair working wage, for human rights and dignity. Indeed, through the legacy in our commemoration of Dr. Martin Luther King, what an amazing grace. How much we indeed have been blessed to behold 50 years later that the moral arc of the universe is long and is indeed slowly but surely bending towards justice. 50 years later, today, this weekend, Bayard Rustin, our gay brother who organized the 1963 march, receives the Presidential Medal of Honor from the first African-American president, President Barack Obama. May we continue, indeed, something to applaud about for sure. May we continue to dream deeply, to dream with passion. May we empower justice to roll down like water and righteousness to flow like a mighty stream, words of Dr. King from the march, until we can all say, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Woo!